Hi, welcome to the Catholic Corner. I'm Msgr Walter Nolan. I'm here today in our own diocese and our building with Bishop David O'Connell. As you know, Bishop O'Connell is our 10th Bishop of Trenton. He was appointed coadjutor bishop of our diocese on June 4th, 2010, and then consecrated Bishop of Trenton on July 30th. Bishop O'Connell was ordained a priest of the Congregation of the Missions in 1982. You probably would know that that's much more commonly known as our dear Vincentian Fathers. Before being named Bishop of Trenton, he spent 12 years as president of Catholic University of America and did an outstanding job at a beautiful, beautiful Catholic institution of ours of higher learning. Well, for those of you who don't know, Bishop O'Connell was battling a number of serious and even life-threatening infections this past fall, leading up to Christmas. And on December 29th, he had his lower left leg amputated. After what most would say is an extraordinary quick recovery and rehabilitation, he was able to return to his public ministry on Palm Sunday in St. Mary's of the Assumption Cathedral, our cathedral. Bishop, welcome back.
Thank you, Msgr.
I know you have to know how much you were missed.
Oh, wow.
Not just our priests, because we would certainly miss you, but by so many people who just asked me many times, how's the bishop doing?
Yeah.
So welcome back.
Do you know I received 10,000 cards?
10,000.
Unbelievable. And most of us, we know that we have some influence or impact on people's lives. And I think most of us are humble enough to realize, well, we do the best we can. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. The outpouring of love and support from the people in the diocese, it really encouraged me and it really sustained me during a tough time.
And isn't it nice to know when whether a card comes or someone talks to us from years ago and how blessed in a sense through God's love through us, they receive blessings.
It's amazing.
Isn't it?
It is amazing to me. And even some communications with people that I haven't talked to for years, but had seen something in the newspaper. I mean, this story grew legs. It took off, and it went all around the world through television and newspapers and the media. People, I think it became just like a human interest story that people were
when we talk about our faith, sometimes I wish we had, or I even myself, have words to express to people just how beautiful God's love is. Absolutely. And how beautiful our faith is and how beautiful the priesthood is.
And if you didn't have faith and you faced a situation like this in your life, not just my own, but a lot of things, I see people every day whose situation is much more difficult and much worse off than I am sure that some of our viewers see those commercials on television for the wounded warriors.
Yeah.
And what they go through, or for the children, the Shriners Hospital that takes care of those youngsters. And if you didn't, can you imagine if you didn't have faith?
I can't imagine.
If you didn't believe in God and you didn't believe in His love, and that's really the thing through it all that kind of sustains you.
Bishop, I talk a lot myself about our pilgrimage, I'll call it, sometimes journey, but our pilgrimage with God. Mm-hmm. You've had a great pilgrimage, and you still have a great pilgrimage to continue. But how about the last couple of years of your pilgrimage? It must have been, you must have had a lot of thoughts in your mind of where God's taken you and what you're doing and how you make a decision. Can we go back a little bit and touch back to that pilgrimage, that journey of yours?
Well, of course, life is a mystery. And just when you think you've got it all together, something happens. You take another turn in this pilgrimage and in this journey, and a whole new world opens up for you. And I think that's happened to me any number of times. I spent most of my life really as a teacher, as an educator, as an administrator. And when it came time for me to step down at Catholic University, I was looking forward to going back to that, take a little time off, write the great book, that all of us hope to write, and then go back to teaching. And then there was that turn, and God had another opportunity for me. But throughout my time, throughout these past, it's hard to believe, almost 5 years, I have been struggling with this diabetes, of course. 66 million people just in our country alone have diabetes. It's an insidious disease, and it just seems to be increasing more and more. And I knew I would get it because my grandparents on both sides had it. My aunts, my maternal aunts had it, and I was always a little bit overweight. At one point, a lot overweight, and you know, like all guys, you know, we don't pay a whole lot of attention. And all of a sudden, when I was going into the doctors for something else, he says, "By the way, you're diabetic." And so I started to pay a little bit of attention to it. And the doctor said something to me that was very interesting. He said to me, he says, "Father, if you don't lose 100 pounds, you'll be dead in 10 years. And of course, you know, that doesn't give you a whole lot of options, right? So I lost the weight. I started to...
So you lost 100 pounds?
I lost 100 pounds before I came here, actually.
Oh my gosh.
Before I came to the
Because when you
diocese.
said you were overweight, yeah, I mean, I never saw you that way.
I was 300 pounds at one point at Catholic U.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, about midway through. In fact, I have a picture. The first time I met Cardinal Ratzinger before he was Pope, the two of us are standing side by side, and I'm quite a pork chop standing there, really big. But the weight is an issue.
Sure.
Exercise is an issue. Some of it is genetic, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. But anyway, I tried to take control of it. But for me, the focus was on the leg. For some reason, it just got hold of me in the leg. And that happens frequently. People get neuropathy. They lose sensation in their leg. They develop a sore or an ulceration.
The circulation gets involved?
Yeah, circulation's an issue. Although in my case, the circulation remained pretty good and still is pretty good. But I just kept getting ulcers that wouldn't heal. So finally, I had the bones removed in my foot and replaced by a titanium or metal bone structure. But the doctor left a little chip of bone in the foot. And so when I started walking again, that chip pierced through the foot, created another wound, and that wound never healed. And it was the source of multiple infections. Osteomyelitis is the bone infection. And you know, with that comes sickness, and you just don't feel right. And I must say, most of the time here in Trenton, I've been struggling with this issue. And but what makes me feel happy is that people, when they see me now after this surgery, will say, "Oh, you look so great. You look so much better. Your eyes are so bright. Your skin color." I said, "What did I look like before?"
Actually, I would say to you, you know, for a lot of that time, I don't think people would really have known it.
Yeah, probably not, you know, and I tried to...
Because you certainly worked through it all.
Yeah, but I just said to myself, well, I'm not going to let this hold me back, and I think I probably only missed one appointment in those 4 years before I had the surgery. Wow. Although because people know I was wearing a boot or a brace and or a plaster cast for most of that time. But at Christmas of this year, I didn't feel right. And I got up the day of the Christmas party here in the Chancery, the last day of work before Christmas holidays. And I said to my secretary, I said, you know, I just don't feel good. And he says, well, why don't we go to the doctor? So I said, all right. I said, but we have the Christmas party, and I love that. I enjoy that time, you know, like Fezziwig and Christmas Carol. You know, I love
You enjoy being with people.
I just enjoy being with the people. That's really true. So I went to the hospital. The doctor said, oh, Bishop, you have to go in the hospital right away.
Right away.
So I said to him, I have a very important meeting at 12 today. I can't go. He says, well, right after that meeting, you come in. So I went in. They did emergency surgery. They took out the ankle bone, which seemed to be where the osteomyelitis was kind of located. Temperature went down and all that went with it. But the doctors came in and said, you know, Bishop, we can keep addressing this, keep you in a brace, but really the leg is your enemy. The foot is your enemy. And so I said, okay, let's move forward. Let's cut it off. And
so you didn't consider another opinion? You just trusted these doctors?
No, you know, I'd been with it for a couple of years, and you just knew it was going to... I'd had enough, and I said it's time for me to look at a new phase of my life, and the phase is life without a leg. And the healing has been rapid, and every doctor says they can't believe how quickly. And you know what? I said, well, you know, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of prayers going up. So I'm sure that the Lord said, listen, leave me alone. Okay, we'll help him. But
The post office box is full.
yeah, I had the surgery to remove the leg on December 29th. I was in the hospital till the 12th, went to St. Lawrence Rehab Center, and that's a marvelous place. Anybody that needs rehab, that's the place to go in the area. Had a great experience there, and was home and fitted for the prosthesis on February 3rd, and I started walking and started the rehab and the therapy on February the 9th. So it wasn't a lot of time between the surgery and the actual rehab. And now it's the end of April, and I'm driving a car. I met my goal, which was, as you said, to celebrate Mass on Palm Sunday, and I was up and around. You know, I'm still a little wobbly. It's hard to get used to the leg. There are times when I feel like it's my own leg. It's just, I don't even notice it. And there are other times where it starts to ache a little bit. Toward the end of the day, it gets a little bit achy. Like
The night before your surgery, what were you thinking?
I'll tell you, the night before my surgery, the doctors said to me, you know, and this was Christmas Eve, when I had all of this started to come to a big head. The doctor said to me, "You're very sick, Bishop." And I said to them, "I know." They said, No, you're very sick. Do you know what that means?" And I said, "Yeah, I know what that means." So I went to bed that night thinking that perhaps the good Lord was calling me home. But I felt a strange sense of peace, gratitude to God, because I've had a great life and so many beautiful opportunities, so many wonderful people who've been part of my life. Of course, I love the priests, and to have the opportunity to work with the priests, and priests here in Trenton especially, but throughout my life. So I felt very much at peace. I worried a little bit about my mom, who was going into the nursing home at that time, and I felt bad because I couldn't help her in that transition, but I just put it all in God's hands. And Blessed Mother, of course, is very important to us as priests, as you know, and I had a rosary by my side and fell asleep, and when I woke up, I said, "Oh, I think God's given me another chance." So we had the surgery, and
I somehow feel for you, thinking that you knew that you're going to wake up and continue the pilgrimage.
Well, you know, Monsignor, you and I are Irish, aren't we? We're determined. And I said, I'm going to fight this thing.
There was an old poem I knew years ago about a boxer, up again, down again. You always got to
That's
get
right.
up.
You got to get up. And you know, I had a great letter from Cardinal George. It was the first letter that I received after the surgery. Cardinal, of course, who just passed away, a beautiful, wonderful man who suffered with polio all his life. He always wore a funny shoe. He wasn't accepted in the seminary in his own diocese because of his limp. And he wrote a beautiful, beautiful letter to me. I still have it. I kept it, just encouraging me. And then shortly after that, maybe the following Sunday, the phone rang, and who was it? It was Cardinal George. And he said, "David, I'm giving you some advice, and the advice I'm going to give you is this. You're going to fall. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and go on."
Isn't that great?
And I thought that was great advice, and I thought of that so many times, and he and I had been friends for a long, long time, and so I couldn't get to his funeral. I felt so bad, but I hold him in my heart. He's a real example to all of us who have little handicaps or problems.
I would hope you use that many times, Bishop, when you share your own spirituality, not only with us priests, but with everybody. Because that's the cross.
Yeah,
you know, the Lord himself felt, but he got up, and I think that's the great message.
You know, Monsignor, a very interesting thing. I know a lot of attention has been paid to me because of this. And I said to our communications office, I says, this is not about me. This is giving a priest, a bishop who has a situation, an opportunity to preach a different message in a different way. You would not believe the number of people who have called, who have emailed, who have sent me letters, telling me stories about their father or their mother or their families, or those, and this was really very important to me, to be able to reach out to those who maybe are facing a similar situation but are afraid. They're afraid to lose a limb. You know, there's no advantage
Sure.
to losing a limb,
Sure.
except if the limb is your enemy. And so for me to be able to talk to people and say, listen, I've actually had people come to my house and I've taken the prosthesis off to show them. I said, no, touch it. This is what it feels like. This is what it looks like. And I think it's helped people to have a little more courage, you know, to face what is an important decision in life.
As you know, Bishop, I had a open heart at
I
one
remember.
time, and there are times when I'm doing some ministry at the hospital, and all of a sudden and I'll just roll up my sleeve or something and say,
Yeah.
let's talk about it.
Yeah, and it does, and it makes a difference.
does,
I think
it
it's so
does.
comforting to people.
does.
And of course, people look at us as priests, you know, and they look at us in a little bit of a different way, as you know. And when you can say to them, hey, listen, I have the same sufferings you do. You know, God allows this in my life as well. And you can get through it. Just never lose faith. Never lose faith. Believe that God is holding you close in his hands, close to his heart, and he's going to see you through.
You know, I might embarrass you now by saying this, but I will anyway. I think, and I felt this so much, that some of the greatest people I've ever met in my life have suffered.
You know.
Not that you want them to suffer, or not that you would ever wish somebody would suffer, but when someone has gone through some suffering, there's something that happens to us, and maybe that's the cross and resurrection.
It changes.
It does, and I think so. That's why I said I might embarrass you, because you're one of the great,
Well,
great priests in our diocese.
Look at the model we have in Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you constantly have to go back to that, and you explain that to people, especially believers or Catholics. You know, we have a God who suffered. You know, no other religion would talk about that, but our God was willing to get into our skin and go through what we go through in order to redeem us.
Paul says it so well, and sometimes if you don't understand it, you know, we glory in the cross.
That's it.
Again, it's not that we look for suffering, but we put it to use, to work, to resurrection all the time, and it does bring happiness, and some of the great people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah. Well, you know, you said it there. You said it's not something we look for.
Right.
We don't look for suffering. Nobody looks for suffering. No one wants to go through it. But when it comes your way, it's how you face it that makes all the difference. It's what's in here and what's in here as you face the struggles. Whatever the struggles are, it doesn't have to be physical.
That's right.
The loss of a job, loss of a spouse, loss of friends, loss of opportunities.
You said the word friend. People might not understand this, but I always felt that suffering can become your friend.
Yeah, an interesting way of putting it.
You know?
Yeah.
And if it becomes your friend, then it becomes part of the friendship with Jesus.
Yeah, the relationship is there.
You've gotten a lot of, what do I say? I don't want to say publicity out of this, because I know you wouldn't do this for publicity. But you have a lot of, you've been on television, or people have taken your story and opened it up. How did that come about, or how do you feel about that?
Well, you know, it was something that was in my head right after the surgery. Mm-hmm. Because as you know, when people don't know what's going on, they'll make it up. And I was afraid that people would say, oh, you know, the bishop's dying, the bishop's going to go, you know, he's going to have to resign, he's going to leave, So I thought, well, it's important just to assure people that there is some stability in the leadership of the diocese. And I mean, December 29th, I had the surgery. December 30th, I had my laptop, and I was back in the saddle, so to speak. I had to spend a lot of time at home because I was without a leg, and at times it was just in a wheelchair. But I have a little office at home, and I was able to work out there and meet with priests or people who had some concerns. I had meetings there in the residence and all of that. The attention came about, I think, because I made a quick video for the diocese just to say, hey, the kid's still here. He hasn't gone anywhere, and he's on the mend. So I wanted just to give confidence to people, and honestly, to tell people what happened, because you know, I'm not a great one for holding back. You know, I just let people know what the situation is and what the prognosis was, and people started to pick that up. And then I got a call from this network and that network and this radio station and this newspaper, and so on. And even my old friend Wolf Blitzer from CNN in Washington, I used to work with him, and he picked it up, and I got a nice message from him and from a lot of people who I've met over the years. So, as I say, the story just took off, but I think the bottom line is, if this can help people to face this suffering in their life, if this can help people to make friends of the suffering they have to endure, then it's all worth it. It's not something I would have wanted, it's not something I would have asked for, but I'll tell you, it's not something I would trade, because my faith has grown, my life has changed, and I'm able to touch even more people through the ministry that God has given to me. And so, amen, and thank God for that.
You know, when you just sharing those thoughts, what was inside of me was, thank God.
Yeah.
To give God, thanks back to God for because we do grow.
Yeah.
We do grow out of all of these situations, and many other people are just so blessed that they can know that there's a bishop, a doctor. It doesn't matter. Someone else that's gone through the same thing and the same decisions that you have to make.
Yeah. I say to God, every once in a while, okay, now, enough for a while.
Was it Saint Teresa who said, if this is how you treat your friends, that's why you're so cute? Although we know God's got loads of friends, but still, it's so nice to be human enough to be able to laugh a little bit, to find joy a little bit, and yet to know we're all human.
But isn't that great just in life in general? You see, and I'm sure you know, of course, yourself with your great background and your own personal story. You walk down the street in New York or in Philadelphia and you see people with the long faces. You just want to say to them, like we say, lift up your hearts.
Yeah.
What could be so heavy?
Yeah.
And I think it's because they don't have the faith. Yeah. They don't have that burning inside of them that just says to them, come on. Yeah. Life is great. It's great we're lucky to be alive. Let's face life with courage, and let's face life with joy. And I use joy rather than happiness, because I'm happy this morning, I'm not happy this afternoon, I'm happy I had a good breakfast, I'm not happy I didn't have a good lunch. Joy, that's that enduring quality, that gift of the Spirit.
I used to tell, even sometimes when I would talk to priests or anybody, sometimes I would start off and talk about saying, are you guys having fun? And I didn't mean parties and things. Do you have a joy inside of you? Do you enjoy celebrating the Eucharist? And married couples, do you enjoy each other? Do you enjoy your family? There's got to be that, and when you have that sense of joy, you can do anything.
Well, I'm going to tell the people watching this show, when I first came to this diocese, and a couple times I had to call you, whatever the reason was, business or the parish or something, and I would get your cell phone. And your message on your cell phone always struck me. I never heard a message like it. Keep that smile.
Yeah.
Remember?
Right,
you had that on your phone message?
Keep your smile.
Keep your smile. Yeah. And I thought, geez, that is a great message for people.
Yeah. Do you have a message that you would like to share with the wonderful people of our diocese?
Yeah, I do have a message. God loves them. Mm-hmm. We're about to enter a year of mercy. And, we have a great gift in this Holy Father, that He's lifted that up for our consideration. And mercy, if you listen at Mass, one of the words most frequently used in all of the prayers is mercy. And so as we look forward to this year of mercy, I think that's what we should be thinking about. The mercy, the love, the compassion, the grace of God, and how it's at work in our lives. So that's my message for the people. Think of those things, love God, and thank God for all the good He's done and for the mercy that He shows us.
And just how much God loves us all.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Whenever we say that, we're His sons and daughters, and we really feel that, that this God really loves me as a son or a daughter. Oh my gosh.
I was reading this past Sunday, how blessed we are to be called the children of God, because that is what we are. Yeah. What we shall later be has not yet come to light, but now we're God's children, and He loves us.
And we'll be God's children for all eternity.
That's right.
That's it's a tremendous
I just turned 60. I hope I'll be 17 in heaven.
Bishop, knowing you're going to be 17 all the time, and that's terrific. That's the joy that you bring all the time. I'm sure you're grateful. After the part of the pilgrimage you went on, maybe you can share a little bit of your thoughts and your prayer in the sense of, has your prayer gotten a little different after this part of the pilgrimage and looking at other oases, so to speak, that will be coming your way?
Well, you know what's different, Monsignor, is this, that I can never move without realizing that a part of me is gone. And so is my prayer life different? Are my thoughts different? Yes. I'm conscious of that something has been taken from me. And because something has been taken from me, it requires me to work a little harder, to act a little different, to be a little bit stronger. And so in that respect, what has been taken really has also given something to me. And I think it's the gift and the grace of perseverance and endurance and determination. And with that comes joy.
Sure.
With that comes joy.
Sure. You know, I think there's a time in all of our lives that you know, in our prayer life, whether I don't want to say struggle so much, but your prayer life is on one dimension. And then all of a sudden, it's like another light switch goes off. I remember saying to myself one time, you know, Lord, I look back at some of the days of my life, and even maybe some of the days where you struggle or you thought or you question, and all of a sudden you say, I wouldn't change a day.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't change a day.
Absolutely.
And thank you for bringing me to where I am. And knowing that there's just even more time to come, but thank you, Lord.
And you know, this is what I've had, and I'm sure you've had as a priest and a pastor too, the same experience, where people will come to you and say, well, I don't know how to pray.
Yeah.
And I said, what did you just say to me? I said, say that to God.
That's right.
I don't know how to pray.
That's right.
And
Right.
I try to tell people, I say this to the seminarians all the time, your day should be filled with prayer.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're walking around with a book all the time.
No.
But in your mind and your heart, just be conscious of the presence of God. And every once in a while say, thanks for being here with me. Thanks for leading me. Thanks for giving me this suffering, which is, in a sense, an opportunity to be closer to you. And that's really what prayer is. It's just a consciousness of God, God's presence, and a thanking. St. Vincent de Paul said there's no greater virtue than gratitude.
Yeah.
And I think that
And
our
to have that kind of a relationship with God that
Absolutely.
you and I could have as friends.
Absolutely.
Or you know, and that's what it is. Prayer is a relationship. It's being able to, you on a tennis court, you can say, hey, Lord, thanks, it's a great day. Thanks for being with me today.
You know, I'm afraid sometimes that people are going to think I'm crazy because, you know, if I'm walking somewhere or talking, I may say something out loud. I'm trying to pray. You know, what a great day. And I might just say it,
Right.
even though there's no one there to hear it
Right.
except God. And I think that's really the way we got to approach it. God is so real in our life that we can talk to him like we would talk to anybody.
Our best friend.
Our best friend.
Bishop, it's been more than a pleasure, honest to God. And just maybe real quick, what are you looking forward to? What's the next thing on your agenda?
Well, to fill up the schedule, to make up for lost time, to get around to the parishes and see the folks, and that's really the greatest joy. Of course, you know that as a priest, you know, when you're with
Bishop, you
the
tell us
people.
guys a lot how much you love us. I'm going to look you in the eye and say, you know, Bishop, we love you very, very,
you.
very much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you, and
much.
I'm sure the whole diocese would say the same thing.
Thanks.
Bless
Monsignor.
you. Thanks
God bless
for being.
you.
Thanks for being our bishop.
Yeah, thank you.
God bless you.
Great.
Bless you.